Awesome. Hey guys. So the title is about attribution, but today I don't want to talk about attribution because let's be frank, it's quite an overused topic on conferences, and I think everybody has heard at least one presentation about attribution in the past 5 years. Is that right? Who hasn't heard any presentation about attribution? Hands up. So everybody did. It's exactly one didn't. So it's exactly as I thought. So today, I'm going to tell you how you can leverage attribution even if you don't have enough data for attribution. Right? So it's going to be a little bit more fun of a topic. I'm just curious, how many of you are already using data-driven attribution for your business? If you could raise your hands. None? Okay. And how many of you plan to deploy anything this year, 2019? Two, three. Okay, good. So I hope to inspire you guys to raise more hands. Just quickly about us. We are Roivenue, we're a Prague-based data-driven analytics startup. We are actually a #1 vendor in the CEE region. We're growing pretty fast. We won a bunch of prizes last year, including the one in the bottom right corner for this case study that you're going to hear right now. And actually, we not only won first place with this, but the jury was so amazed with the results that they actually devised a special category, special award just for us. They called it ROI King, and they actually gave us 2 prizes for this. So it's a pretty cool case study, and I think you guys are going to like it. And as you can see, attribution is something that is already being used by all different kinds of B2C companies. So from, let's say, mid-size to large clients and the retailers like Pandora, all the way up to big enterprises like Orange or AXA, which this case study today is about. We've been thrilled to work also with a lot of top-tier agencies like Group M, etc. And actually, CMOs around the globe are looking into attribution and how they can leverage it to deliver more ROI on their marketing spend. And why are they looking at it is because you can achieve pretty great results with it. And by the way, Lukáš, the CMO from AXA, he wanted to be here today, but he has a small kid, a newborn, so he had to stay at home and he wanted to be here because he's really proud of this case study and how they worked with affiliates, which we're going to talk about. You don't have to be scared. I'm not going to talk about any numbers or models or algorithms, nothing like that. I would like to today more focus about the business results, right? Because that's why you would do attribution, because you as a marketer want to get a better ROI on your results. So I want to focus on this number. And you know, in these conferences and different case studies, we as marketers or vendors started to throwing around a lot of these numbers, like we increased this by 50% and we increased that by 300%. So it can, you know, be no longer that sound that amazing to you, but I just want you to realize that this is what we're talking about. If, for instance, you are spending, let's say, 10K per month or whatever, and you're getting 50K on revenue out of that investment, if you are able to increase that by 180%, then you're, instead of 50K, you're all of a sudden getting 120K. So that's really the business result. That's what I want to talk about today. And it's quite amazing that a lot of marketers today still, you know, John Wanamaker made this famous quote in 1922. And here we are, a century later, and a lot of marketers are still throwing a lot of their budgets out of the window because they simply don't have a better way how to measure and see what works and what doesn't work. And we believe at Roivenue that a lot of it, and at least in the past 10, 15 years, is caused by the plague of last click, by actually Google Analytics giving all the credit to the channel or touch point that comes last before the conversion. And as you can see, as you probably know from your own data sources, customers usually don't purchase with one interaction. It usually takes a lot of clicks, a lot of impressions, a lot of viewed videos before they finally purchase. Even within one data set we saw from one client, we saw an extreme case where a guy, maybe it was a girl, I don't know, but a customer clicked on 36 paid advertising clicks before he finally ordered his fridge. Right? So the customer journeys get quite long and complicated, and assigning all the credit to only the last click is not really working, or is not really painting the true picture. So using last click attribution is not going to do the trick. Using linear attribution or any other position-based models is also not going to work. And we believe that a better way, or the only way forward, is to actually employ the algorithms, employ the machines, employ the machine learning, so that the algorithms can really tell you what is the contribution of the real contribution of each channel. And you are not only able to do it with clicks, you can also do it with impressions and banners and videos. So if you've ever wondered what is the effect of banners that nobody's clicking on, does it have any effect, does it have any ROI? All these questions can be answered, and we actually have a pretty awesome case study with Orange on that topic as well on our website, so you can check that out later. But in order to be able to do the data-driven attribution computations, you first need to collect all the data sources. So data from your online marketing platforms, data from web analytics, data from even your internal system, your CRM, so that you can know which products were in there, what was the profit. We can calculate customer lifetime value for you. And that's the way how you get ROI. And then what you usually do is you can see all the channels and compare what's the performance with last click against what's the performance with a data-driven model. And then you can actually identify the channels that has the lowest ROI and shift the budget to channels that have high ROI. So this is the basic principle. There's one more crucial step that is often omitted, and that is you should first check what is the well-performing channel able to absorb, how much budget is it still able to absorb. So you would probably use something like this, where you can see the saturation of a particular channel, because there is a point where throwing more money into a channel doesn't make sense anymore because the channel is saturated. And that's why we also have this neat tool that can predict what would happen if you increase budget by a certain amount and what will be the results. So once you know that, then you need to brief your team, right? You need to go to your PPC manager, your affiliate manager, social media manager, and tell him, okay, I want to put more budget here, and this is why. And let's talk about how we do it. And once you do it and they execute it, you just watch the results in some kind of dashboard. And that is actually the never-ending story of data-driven attribution budget optimization. It's a long word, I know. And I just wanted to quickly run through the process of how is it normally done. This is how most of our clients would do it, and this is how they realize their improvements in ROI. But in this particular case, there was a problem that we didn't have enough data for the algorithms to work, because they need, at least some amount of traffic, some amount of conversions to spit out meaningful results and numbers. So I want to talk about how you can still use the principles of attribution even if you don't have actually enough data to feed the algorithms. And so this is where the situation of AXA comes in. A couple of years ago, they were using all of the traditional channels like search and social and display. And actually, they were already using Roivenue and data-driven attribution to see where to put more money within those channels. But they were thinking about employing even more channels, and affiliate was something they've never tried. And actually, some of the publishers were already turning to them on an ad hoc basis and approaching them if they don't want to try it. And they said, okay, let's try it out. And because they didn't have IT resources to build their own affiliate network, they decided to go with an existing network. So that's how the story started a couple of years ago. And as it usually is the case, at the beginning, you all have nice expectations, and we see the future really bright. So their expectations was like, yeah, we're probably going to get really good publishers, probably some content-rich websites. It would be nice. It would be some websites about traveling because, selling travel insurance on those websites, that's a really great fit. So those were their expectations. And what they realized after the first few months of running affiliates was that in reality, a lot of what they were getting was coupon aggregators, discount outlets, and they actually experienced some truly, I would say, horrible stories where, for instance, one publisher somehow got hold of a direct mail that AXA was sending to specific households with a discount coupon that was only based on some segmentation or criteria, so they were only sending it to specific people, but they took this direct mail, they took this code, and they just put it online on one of these aggregators for everybody to see, right? Or in one other case, some lady made an AXA application, and she put it in App Store, actually. And the application didn't do anything. The only thing it did was you could click through it, and you would get to the publisher's website, and then you would be tracked, and the publisher would ask for a commission, right? So they experienced some not really nice things, and that led them to investigate of how is really, what is the ROI, how is the affiliates really working? And because at the first glance, it looks pretty straightforward, right? So, for instance, you set up a commission that you want to give 15% commission to affiliates, and the dashboard tells you, through all the affiliate partners, you earned 10,000 euros, for instance, this month, so we're sending you an invoice for 1,500 euros, right? It's pretty straightforward. The cost of sale in this example is 15%. But when they looked more closely into it, when Lukáš took all the order IDs that the affiliate system reported, and he compared it with the IDs within Google Analytics, he realized actually that a lot of those orders were not closed by affiliates, but by other channels. Simply just looking at the last click data at the first glance, he realized that actually there was a lot of other channels that played within those paths, even though affiliate was claiming credit and was sending invoices for those closed customers. And then actually he realized that what could directly be attributed to those affiliates was not those 10,000 euros, but actually only 2,150, which actually made the cost of sale jump from the perceived 15%, that's what he thought, to a 68%, what was the reality. And that was nuts, right? Because that's more expensive than is their margin on the insurance that they're selling. So actually, they were losing money by making every single transaction, right? So that was something they couldn't really sustain and keep going forward. So he had an idea to look at the publisher level. You know, he thought maybe some publishers are performing better than the others, and sure enough, there was a striking difference, a staggering difference, that some publishers were from 80% on last click, and some publishers only 3%. So, you know, he was quickly able to identify the biggest sinners. Like, for instance, this coupon aggregator website called Honey, which offers a Chrome extension to customers where you come to a website and you want to purchase something, whether it's insurance or some other product, you can click on that extension and it will tell you if there is a coupon code somewhere. And if there is, it takes you to their website and then redirects you back to the merchant website, right? So it doesn't really bring any value. The only thing it does is actually it gives the customer a discount, plus you now have to pay a commission, right? So it doesn't really bring much value. And he was able to identify these obvious sinners pretty quickly and turn them off. And already the cost of sale improved a little bit. But this is where, with this crude method of analyzing, just using Google Analytics and their own internal resources, where they stopped and they couldn't move any forward. And that's where we came into play, where they turned to us and they were like, how could we use attribution, or what can we do really to investigate a little bit deeper and really try to see which publishers bring real value and which don't. And as I said, with them, there wasn't really enough data on a publisher level to do a full-blown data-driven attribution modeling. There's just not enough conversions. So we had to come up with something else. And actually, we came up with, I think, a pretty cool solution. I wasn't the one who thought this up. It was our head of client success, who was an account manager working on the AXA case. And he actually came up with a very simple, yet I think pretty smart idea of how to do it. And the idea was to simply categorize the publishers into 3 main categories. The first one was where affiliates were in a closing role. So that's, you know, something like the example I was telling earlier, the Honey, where the other channels worked really hard, you know, spent a lot of money to bring the customer towards the end, and then towards the end, where they are already convinced they want to purchase, somebody comes in with an affiliate link that really doesn't add any value. So we identified these as the least wanted, right? This is something you don't really want. This is not how affiliate should work for you. The second category then was where there were affiliates and other channels in the customer paths, but the affiliates were an opening channel. It's still not as great, we're not as hyped about these types of paths, but at least affiliate serves as an opener. So it adds value because it brings customers that otherwise wouldn't have been in the funnel at all. Right? So let's say this category was okay-ish. And then, of course, the best category was when the affiliate didn't need participation from any other channel. You know, he opened the path, closed the path, sometimes did it in one interaction. And in this case, you can be sure that affiliate is giving you the value and is really deserving the whole commission, right? It's not stealing from you. This is how affiliates should work. And then what we did was we just created an index where we looked at all the affiliate partners, the publishers, and we categorized them, you know, this many conversions fell into the first category, this many conversions into the second and third. And I don't know how well you can see that, but there are some publishers, for instance, this one, number 19, that had a total majority, 99% of the conversions within the great category where affiliates are only affiliates, whereas there are some others that had a lot of those in the second and third category that was not really desirable. So we just ordered them, and they cut from the bottom. They just threw the publishers with the least score on the index out of the mix, and that's actually how they were able to reduce the cost of sale from those 68–70% that we saw at the beginning to 25, which is much more reasonable, much more sustainable, and these numbers actually equal to an increase of 180% on ROI. Now, to recap, if you're having a similar issue with your affiliates, you want to do something about it, then I would say, number one, don't limit yourself to only play with the variables that the affiliate provider is offering you, because usually you can only change two variables, and that is the level of commission. Do I want to give them 15% on 20 or 5? And then the conversion window. Do I want to give them credit if they converted 5 days or 30 days, if they click on the link 30 days before the conversion or 5 days? If you only limit yourself to work with these two variables, it's not really optimizing, because it pitches you against the market. Because the only thing that is going to happen is you reduce the commission, but somebody else is willing to give more commission, so the publishers are going to go to that provider, and it only decreases your volume. So it's not really optimization. You're just fighting with the market, and you are not in a control as a marketer. So the better way to do this is try to see what really is your real cost of sale. Investigate with your own resources. You can go to Google Analytics, do a crude analysis with last click, and then you can take it a step further with a full-blown data-driven attribution models, or at least an analysis of customer journeys, customer paths. And who knows, in case of AXA, there weren't enough data on a publisher level to do the full-blown attribution. But if you are, for instance, a big retailer where affiliate is your big channel, maybe there is enough conversions within your data set to even employ this. So I think that could be potentially used in your case. Yeah, so if that's something that caught your interest, I'll be here. You can talk to me later, or you can stop by our booth, which is at the very, very corner by the entrance, and actually you can win this robot, which is also a pretty cool thing. If you have any questions, I guess now is the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pavel. Do we have any questions from the audience? Okay, great.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation. It's really interesting, and the way you have dealt with data there. So while I completely agree to the data-driven attribution that you've mentioned in the early part of your presentation, what concerns me in the case study is that the customer's lifetime value was not taken into account when you are looking at the affiliates. Because affiliates bring you traffic, whether it is on the first touch point or any other later touch point. But then what about the recurring revenue that you get from the affiliates? So I think that what I'm feeling is that there is a little bias towards other channels and towards the affiliates. Because affiliates are not being considered as one more channel. They're being considered like a separate entity. You know what I mean? So while you can consider Google AdWords is also like somewhere in the customer journey, could be at the second step, could be on the third step, or the final last click attribution. And same goes for affiliates as well. It's just that there must be different costs associated with the affiliate, which is 15% in this case. And for Google AdWords, it would be different. For Facebook, it would be different. So why did you keep this distinction, and why was customer lifetime value not taken into account?
Right. Great question. we have other, let's say, case studies where we look at the customer lifetime value as well. In this particular case, because AXA is a pretty big enterprise, they were not able to provide us with the data for us to calculate the customer lifetime value, but they actually did the calculation on their side. So we didn't have visibility on those data, but the CMO actually did, right? So like we as a provider, we don't really know what he did, like how it impacted his decisions. But we know that they're looking at it, and we actually help them streamline the infrastructure so that they are able to look at customer lifetime value as well. So as I said, there are two options. Like if for some clients who can give their order data, the customer data to us, we can do that. And for large enterprises, we usually don't have visibility on that part. But totally a valid point. It should be taken into consideration for sure.
Okay, we have space for one more question. Anyone? Okay, then I will ask, how big do I have to be in order to start with attribution? Is it just for big players or?
Right, so we set the cutoff point where we believe it starts making sense to play with these to at least have a spend of 20k euros per month across all digital channels. Because usually if the spend is lower, I mean, it's not a hard number. Maybe if it's 18, it could be still okay. But usually it correlates with the level of maturity of the business and how ready they are to use something more sophisticated to go with than last click.
Okay, thank you very much, Pavel, for your presentation, and we will continue after a short break.